In 1986, a man from Poland named Andrzej Sapkowski entered a writing contest and wrote a short story called The Witcher. He didn't win, but he still decided to write 14 more short stories and 5 novels in the 90s that became one of the most successful Polish fantasy book series. It stayed the best kept secret of Poland until 2007 when Projekt Red released the first Witcher video game on PC and successfully introduced Geralt of Rivia to the rest of the world. It got a sequel in 2011, then in 2015, Projekt Red released what would become the 8th best-selling game of all time, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, on PC, PS4, and Xbox One. A Nintendo Switch version came out in 2019, and a next-gen update for PC, PS5, and Xbox Series was released in 2022. I played the latest version on PC through Steam, and after 115 hours in-game, here's my review of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. The world of The Witcher is beautiful, the score is fantastic, and it has some of the best environmental scenery I've ever seen in a video game. Exploring rolling hills, haunted forests, crowded city streets, and even just looking at sunsets was amazing and felt extremely immersive. I played on PC and was able to take advantage of the next-gen update's ray tracing support while playing at a smooth 60 FPS in 4K, which is also available on PS5 and Xbox Series X. The Switch version plays at 30 FPS 720p docked or 540p handheld, and it's also Steam Deck verified, running at 800p up to 60 FPS. The performance on PC was pretty smooth, but it did have some of those typical open-world game bugs like texture pop-in, especially at longer distances. NPC models would sometimes get stuck on objects in the more crowded areas, but none of the graphical bugs were bad enough to break the immersion, and everything still looked nice. You play as Geralt of Rivia, one of the world's last remaining monster hunters known as a Witcher, in search of Ciri, his adoptive daughter with an ancient power everyone wants to get a hold of. This is the third game in the Witcher series, which means Geralt already has quite the history, and if you played the previous game, you can even import your character into The Witcher 3. If you haven't played the first 2 games, you'll have the choice between simulating a save file or selecting some options during the story to build out Geralt's history, making it an easy access point for newcomers to the series. Geralt's quest for Ciri is full of interesting supporting characters, and a variety of role-playing options are there to shape your experience along the way. The one thing I didn't like in the main story is that at certain points you'll be forced to play as Ciri instead of Geralt and use a completely different combat system that just isn't as good as the rest of the game. There's an unbelievable amount of side quests, and you will definitely get distracted on your way to the main quest over and over, in a good way. Gwent is a card game inspired by the books, but completely original to The Witcher 3, and is one of the greatest games within a game I've ever played. I'm still collecting cards. Exploring the world is a lot of fun, but unfortunately the horseback controls for Geralt's horse Roach are not great. Roach is a little awkward to control and will definitely get stuck on even the smallest objects in a road. The side content, especially the monster hunting contracts and the romantic storylines, were some of the best I've played, and the main story ties everything together in a really nice and balanced way with multiple endings. 2 DLCs, Hearts of Stone and Blood and Wine, are available separately or part of the Complete Edition and include even more story content, plus an entirely new explorable area for Blood and Wine. Overall, The Witcher 3 has one of the most beautiful settings in a video game, and the story is top-notch, despite having some bumps along the way and some not-so-great horseback controls. Now let's talk about the gameplay. The Witcher 3 is a fantasy role-playing game with a combination of swordplay, magic, and alchemy as its core combat systems. The game gives you a great choice of skills and upgrades to use, and finding ingredients for better potions or using monster parts to craft stronger armor was a big highlight of my playthrough. You'll fight giant woodland spirits, ancient vampires, ethereal specters, frozen ice monster dogs, and much more, each requiring a completely different approach to combat. You can use oils and potions to give yourself buffs, and bombs to damage or debuff enemies, then combine these with your own offensive or defensive magic and swordplay to become the world's greatest fantasy exterminator. The second I saw an enemy in my playthrough, I would open the menu and start researching exactly what method to use to take them down most efficiently, and this was one of the best parts of the game. It makes you feel like you earn every victory. The human enemies are mostly basic with a loop of parry, hit, dodge, repeat, but there is the occasional boss fight that switches things up, and of course the monsters have challenging bosses with lots of situational considerations during battle. Running into a tough enemy, doing some research on it, then coming back more prepared was one of my favorite parts of The Witcher 3, and the combat variety gives you plenty of reasons to play again and try different builds. During my playthrough, I leaned more towards alchemy. I loved using potions and decoctions to stack all sorts of crazy effects on Geralt, sometimes just to see if they would work. While the human combat can be a little basic, the monsters in the game are so freaking cool and give you a great variety of ways to play that will keep you coming back long after you finish the main quest. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is available on PS4 and 5, Xbox One and Series, and PC through Steam, GOG, or Epic for $39.99 or $49.99 for the complete edition with both DLCs. The Nintendo Switch version is a little more expensive at $59.99, but does include all post-release content and runs handheld if you're into that. And while Geralt's journey becomes folklore, I'll give this a score from 1 to 4. On the revolutionary Dinkus 4-star scale, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt gets 4 out of 4 stars. There is so much to do in The Witcher 3, almost to the point where it can get overwhelming, but at a max price of $50 to $60 and over 100 hours of content, this game is one of the best values you can possibly get. There's something to do at every corner. Most of it's fun and interesting, the DLCs add a lot of great content, and role-playing is varied enough to encourage replaying the game. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is one of the greatest fantasy role-playing games ever made and is a must-play if you like Western-style RPGs. Buy this game at full price and play it right away.